Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Sethum and welcome back to another video, folks. Today in this video I'm going to be showing you how to tame a Quetzal in Ark Survival Ascended. Now, this one is more of a challenge than others just because of its mechanics. Basically, we're going to have to go back to the old school mechanics. We haven't got the luxury of all the new stuff. But before we get into it, let's get into what you'll need. So it is a knockout tame. You will need 2 crossbows, one with the grappling hooks and one with the trank arrows if you're going to use trank arrows. You can also use a long neck rifle if you want to with the trank darts to knock it out. And of course, bring some narcotic with you. It is a knockout tame. Also bring some walls with you because you will want to protect it when it's down. And other than that, kibble wise, you want the exceptional kibble. And of course, you will also need a saddle. Now there are 2 types of saddles right here. I'll show you this in a bit. And make sure you have plenty of arrows and darts to knock it out. So first things first, let's look at the saddles here. There are 2 types of saddles that you can learn for the Quetzal. It's the basic saddle, which you learn at level 76. These are the requirements to craft it. And of course, the more important saddle is learned at level 97. It costs quite a bit more to craft it, but you can build on top of the saddle. It's definitely worth learning the saddle if you're going to get a Quetzal. So with that said, let's get into the mechanics of taming a Quetzal itself. It is actually quite complex. Okay, so once you found a Quetzal that you want to tame, the very first thing you'll need to do is you will need to grapple onto your Argent. But before you do anything else, equip the crossbow with the grapples. Make sure you got a grapple onto the crossbow. We're going to need to get some altitude here. And what I like to do is I like to find a very safe perch to basically jump off the Argent, quickly look at the Argent and grapple onto it, then use the whistle command to get the Argent moving. If the Argent is too close to the ground, it will want to land, which kind of works against it. So I think this is about the right height. I'm going to dismount here, quickly have the crossbow out, grapple onto it, pull myself up, and then use the whistle command, the go-to whistle command, to get it moving in the direction that you want. So this is basically going to be done all solo and everything. I kind of know where my Quetzal is, or the Quetzal that I want, so to speak. And so yeah, on computer, I'm not sure on console what the command is, but on computer, the button for it is the period, I believe. So the next key after the letter M, that is the whistle command go-to for your creature. So that is how we're going to follow the Quetzal. And from here on, you need to get right close to it to be able to use both your long neck rifle and the crossbow with the trank darts. Normally I like to try and do it from above, and so we just follow it around. We fire 1 dart into it, or 1 arrow into it. I would recommend using the darts because it does have a lot of torpor, and there's a chance that by the time you knock it out, it will be fairly weak. It will fall to the ground, and once it falls onto the ground, you will want to reel yourself into the Argent, mount the Argent, follow it to the ground, and quickly clear the area around it. Then use the spike walls to keep it safe. So yes, this is the old school method. This is what it used to be like back in the day. I'm glad that this is still a thing. I do enjoy the challenge of taming something like this. I have tried a couple of things, but nothing seemed to work, so I'm fine with it. I'll bring you guys back when we are closer to taming a Quetzal to show you the next step. Now, one thing you need to bear in mind is, and it seems to be still a thing in this game, is that Quetzals, once they are aggroed, they will fly away, as you've seen, but also they have a tendency to go towards the 50-50 zone of the map. So that is somewhere around the redwood forest. It is a very dangerous area, so do be prepared. And sometimes, if they fall to the ground, they will quickly be eaten by other creatures. So just bear in mind that it may take a couple of attempts. Now, your first Quetzal shouldn't necessarily be a high level. Just a Quetzal will do, because with that you can then tame high level Quetzals, and I'll show you that as well in this video. So as you saw in the previous clip, which I will include in the video, I did lose that Quetzal. It did fall to the ground. It did get eaten by stuff on the ground, but this is a successful knockout. And so I'll reel myself up into the Argent. That is by selecting the crossbow with the grappling hooks, Then once I'm close enough, I will press E to interact and mount my griffin. I'll get my things ready right here. And we've got our spiked walls. Now I am fortunate that the area it's fallen in seems to be clear. So first things first, before we do anything else, we're going to start putting the spiked walls down and try and protect it. It does not work against all creatures by the looks of things, but most creatures should be kept quite far away. Okay, when you are ready, make sure you have plenty of narcotics with you. You will need to keep it knocked out. I normally like to use the starving mechanic, and that requires to keep its torpor up, or basically try and stop the torpor from going completely to zero, as it will get back up and fly away. Once you're ready, put the food in its inventory. The Quetzal does also like the raw mutton and prime meat. You can also use normal meat if you want to, but I definitely recommend using kibble for a Quetzal. Once you've tamed the Quetzal, take the food out of the inventory and put the saddle on it, and you are ready to go. I normally like to pick up my spiked walls just so I can reuse them again. Now once you have your first Quetzal, you can now tame Quetzals like a pro. We're going to start by building a trap. We're going to use 2 foundations. We're going to use wood structures here. So 2 foundations, one on the back of each other, and then we're just going to surround this with the wooden ceilings all the way around. And there we go. So we should have a base of 3 by 3 to work with. Next up, we're going to do the walls. With the walls, we're going to go with a 2 height really, 2 by 2 really, but we're going to cover the corners, and there's a good reason behind this. I'll show you this later in the video. So we'll just cover the corners with 2 walls high. Now there is a limit to how much you can place on the Quetzal saddle. Once you've done this, we'll go back to the wooden ceiling pieces, close these corners off like that, and we'll do this for every single corner. There we go. And there we go. And I'd like to put these right here, so one there and one there. You don't have to, but I genuinely like to do it. This is pretty much it. This is a trap. Now, in the past, we used to put a ramp at the head of the Quetzal, but that does seem to affect its ability to move, so don't do that. Now, once you found another Quetzal that you want to tame, what you need to do is you need to fly underneath it until the Quetzal's body is in the box that you've just created. As you can see right here, the Quetzal is now stuck. This only works to trap the Quetzal so it does not fly away. In the OG game, you could actually tame the Quetzal and do the whole process on the back of your Quetzal, but you'll see later on it's not the way it works. So I'll just quickly mount this. This is what it looks like. You can see right here, it's nicely trapped. I'm not going to move because if I do move, the Quetzal will pop out. So it might take a bit of fiddling to get this, but just be persistent. Make sure you have plenty of stamina on your Quetzal. So your taming Quetzal should have plenty of weight and stamina. Those are the key things. But as you can see right here, we can start knocking it out. It's unable to fly anywhere. It is in a safe environment. Now I like to put myself in this corner right here because it reduces the risk of being knocked off. The Quetzal is not aggressive, but whilst it's trying to flee and flap its wings and stuff, it may potentially knock you off. So being in a corner does help prevent that. And from here on, it's just a case of pumping it full of, I suppose, tranks really. You can use trank arrows, but it will do more damage to the Quetzal. Generally speaking, I would like to recommend using a long neck just because of the reduced amount of damage it does. Also, you can use a spyglass with this, and a magnifying glass is what I meant, to actually test out the amount of torpor that it still has left. Now, once the Quetzal is going to get knocked out, a little thing will happen right here. As you can see, it will just want to float on top of the box that is on the back of your Quetzal. I was trying to figure out how to describe that, but this is what will happen. Eventually, it will fall to the ground, so do be prepared to follow it and keep it safe from anything that may potentially want to nibble on it. Obviously, anything that hits it or attacks it will reduce the taming effectiveness. So, generally speaking, with high-level Quetzals, you want to try and keep them as safe as possible to get those extra levels. So the first thing I'll like to do, the area seems to be clear, is I'll remove some trees just to have better visibility. as I'm doing this, I am letting the Quetzal starve. Now, alternately, you can have spiked walls and surround it with spiked walls, but the area that I was in was fairly safe. Put the kibble in its inventory, wait for it to tame. I normally like to wait on my Quetzal for this. It does also give me the option to defend the Quetzal that I'm trying to tame. And with a bit of patience, you will be rewarded with a Quetzal, a high level Quetzal. There we go. And that's how you do it, folks. That is how you tame a Quetzal, old school style. Now, the one thing that I found a bit fiddly was trying to get my Quetzal with the taming box underneath the hitbox of the other Quetzal and dismounting it in time. So it may take a few attempts. But other than that, that is pretty much how we used to do it back in the good old days, and it seems to be the exact same method that works nowadays. This is the best method that I've found to tame a Quetzal at this moment in time. Hopefully you guys find this useful and informative, and if you have, please don't forget to hit that like button, share, comment, and subscribe. And of course, as always, until next time, stay safe, folks.